How's it going, everyone? I am Jeremy Alexander, and welcome to another Let's Play to Learn tutorial. This tutorial is based off of our last Let's Play to Learn, where we played AIRSCAPE, a Construct 2 game that I was very impressed by and really wanted to pick apart more. So the first thing I picked apart for this tutorial is the tree movement. When our player actually overlapped the tree swayed, and I thought it was really cool, and I started to think to myself, okay, how can we mimic this effect? Well, we could use the physics behavior, we could use the sine wave behavior, and I was trying to think about what the best way to do it was, and then I stumbled upon Adam's game, Adam Prack from Courier, called Little Girl for the Ludum Dare 35 competition. It's still live, you can actually still play it now, and you can even download the source, which is where I actually found our answer for this Let's Play to Learn tutorial. So definitely go check that out. What we're going to be doing is we're going to be taking this tree object, we're going to add the sine wave behavior, and in the sine wave movement, we're going to switch it to the angle. And when we do this, it's now going to move based on the origin point. So for me, I put the origin point to the bottom. Now, this is not the best sprite due to the fact that this base is a little bit too large and these leaves are not separate images or not separate sprites, which I think the tree in AIRSCAPE kind of got away with doing a little bit more. The tree was a better shape. So bear with me because the programming, the logic behind this is still the same, and you can still apply it to your game. So what we're going to do is we're going to change this up. We're just going to put the magnitude down to like 5, and then we are going to go into our event sheet. Real fast, I have just a very simple player with the scroll to and platform behavior attached to it, and then I have a solid platform. I do want to make sure, however, though, that the Z order for my platform is a little bit bigger here, because otherwise you're going to see this and it's going to look stupid. So for this, because the base is too big, because this is not the perfect tree sprite, I'm just going to put this underneath just a little bit so we at least get the effect. Oh, one more thing that I need to do here is I need to add an instance variable called instance state. So a state engine for our tree, so we can just kind of design it that way. Now what we're going to do is we're going to say for each tree, just because I want to have it in case I have other trees, I'm going to say for each tree object. And what we're going to do is we're going to compare the state. So if the state is equal to 0, which right now it is, and this is from Adam's code, and I think that this is a very ingenious way of doing it because I normally don't think like this. I would do something like this where I'd have state 1, I'd have state 2. It's the same exact thing and it doesn't really matter, but what we can get away with doing is we can actually make an else statement here. So if the tree is in state 0, which it is by default, what we're going to do is we're going to set the sine wave behavior. So let's go into our object tree over here and let's set the magnitude. Now this is what we're going to do. We're going to lerp between the self.sine.current magnitude. Then we're going to lerp between the end position, the next position that we want our tree to be at. So whatever our current magnitude is, which is actually 5, then we're going to put it to the next position, which is also 5, and then we're actually going to use 0.1, so slower speed times delta time. The delta time is in there just to make sure that it's going to run on its own, frame rate independent. That's not something I want to get into right now. It is a very simple concept once you understand it, but for right now, let's just continue this. So what we're going to do for our tree again is we're going to set the period. So we've already set the magnitude of this. Now we're going to lerp between what the current period is. So we're going to say self.sine.period, and the next position is going to be 3. And we're also going to do 0.1 times delta time. Okay, cool. So that's our state 0, which is what it's currently at. So if I hit play here real fast, and hopefully I'm using NWJS, I am, and we go over here, we can see that it's kind of moving, right? It's already moving. And yes, it already has its own behaviors here, but now we're overriding it because it's in state 0. This is the actual magnitude and period. So if we're not in state 0, let's copy this. And if we are not in state 0 for whatever reason, what we're going to do instead is we are going to randomize the end position. So instead of it being 5, we're going to put it between 10 and 20. And instead of it going really slowly at 0.1, we're going to put it at 15. And this is going to be a lot faster. Same thing for the period here. We're going to make the period shorter. So instead of it being 3, we're going to put it to 1, and we're going to put this to 10. Let's put it to 15 times delta time. Okay, so now that we have that, we just need to trigger this. And to trigger this, we're going to add the event for our player. We're going to check to see if it's overlapping the tree. And if it is, then we're going to set the state to be anything but 0. And that's where the ingenious from Adams code comes in, and I really like it that way. I think it's just an extra way of thinking about logic. So what we're going to do is we're going to set the value of instant state to 1, because that's anything else but 0. We're going to wait about 0.05 seconds. We don't really need to wait that long. And we're going to set it to 0. So it's going to go right into this. It's going to set the magnitude to something random between 10 and 20. It's going to go really, really quickly. So it's going to shake pretty violently, and then it's going to go back to normal. And when it goes back to normal, that's when it'll start to go back to its resting position. So now that we have this, let's hit play and let's watch this happen first. It's going to look a little funny because it's definitely not something that you need to tweak specifically for your art. When I overlap this, let's see here. There we go. I passed it. I overlapped it. Then you can see that it triggered its state, and now it's going back into state 0, and now it's going back. So I kind of need to overlap this a little bit quicker, and I actually want to, let's do one thing here on the start of our layout. Let's set the layout scale to 0.5, just so we can kind of see what's going on a little bit more. There we go. There's our tree. And when we kind of walk by it, you can see it kind of jerks a little bit. So you're going to have to mess around with your numbers, and you can also mess around with the initial settings. But now we're actually passing by it and changing the sine wave, which I think is a very neat effect. With a better sprite, this would be the exact effect from AIRSCAPE. So because we have it in a for each loop, we can actually duplicate this, and they'll both be pretty independent, which I think is pretty cool. And we actually need to fix our Z orders here. So let's do that. Z order, send it to the bottom, bring our player to the top. Let's also make our player a different color so I can actually see our player. Let's make it red. Otherwise, this blends into the tree too much. So let's hit play. And okay, I didn't put that where it needed to be, but you can see where it's actually making its movement from that origin point. So not the most, I guess this isn't the best polished technique that I've shown you guys just yet, but it's there. This is the logic behind it, and this is how you can apply this to your game. So I hope this tip helped you. Definitely go check out Adam's game and the source code while you still can. There's a lot of valuable information there, like this tip and more. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you did like it, leave a thumbs up, leave a comment below. Join our Facebook group if you have any other comments you want to add, or if you want to get in touch with me directly. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.